Sum of functions. So it's going to start, I don't know, should be okay. Some of the graphs might be a little tricky though. We got f of x, 2x plus 1, and we've got g of x. A new function, h of x, is just some operation on this one and this one. What do we call this operation? Sum. Okay? So don't overthink it. All we're doing is taking this and taking that and adding them together. 2x and 1 and x squared. But we normally write it in descending powers of x because, as we know from yesterday, this is what determines what shape this guy's in, right? Not just the first thing. Anybody remember that from Math 10? Writing polynomials in descending powers of x? Oh, good. So, two different functions, same thing. I'm just going to add them together. I think we're pretty good. Can I just do this in my head and go 1x squared and 1x squared is, yeah, 2x squared. Okay, not x to the 4 like some kids do. 2x and an x is 3x and 2. Okay, that's h of x. Okay, piece of cake, right? Ooh, a difference, a new operation. This you probably want to write out. So, and there's two ways to write it. That says f of x minus g of x, obviously. It can also be written like that. F minus g of x, because both of these functions are in terms of x. So, this one I think is the one we want to look at. 6x minus, now, you tell me what I did wrong. No bracket. And obviously that's going to be a different answer. Okay, so make sure you're subtracting the whole function, not just the first term of the function. You got to put brackets there, or it's wrong. Okay, so h of x, let's write it, is 6x minus x plus 2. And if that's a multiple choice question, and one of the answers is 6x minus 2, guess what percentage, statistically, of a grade 12 class will pick that wrong answer? I don't know. A lot. 20, 30% probably. Okay, but not you guys, right? F of x minus g of x minus 3x plus 7 minus bracket 3x squared minus x minus 2. So could I do all this in my head? Maybe, but why? Is it worth the 10 seconds to write this out? Absolutely. Okay? So do it. Don't make a mistake. Collect and largest degree first. I got that one. Minus 3x and x is minus 2x. 7 and 2 is 9. And I think that's got her. Okay. So far so good. Not too bad. Product. And then quotient. So h of x, you just take the two polynomials and multiply them. Hopefully they're not too big and ugly. This can also be written like that. F dot is another way to write multiply, right? So that says f of x times g of x. Just think of grade 9 distributive law. That x is distributed over both of these, and then it looks like that. So h of x is 2x and 5 times 3x minus 5. That's just a binomial times a binomial. What's the little acronym we use to multiply two binomials? FOIL. Okay, so 6x squared minus 10x plus 15x is 5x minus 25. That's h of x. Okay. minus 2x squared minus 5x times 3x plus 5 negative 6x squared, let's write this one out, minus 10x squared minus 15x squared minus 25x. Yes, thank you. I was just looking at that. So I had lots of x squareds there. So descending powers of x minus 6x cubed minus 25 x squareds minus 25 x. Little review. Roughly, do you know what that thing looks like? What quadrants does it go up? Who likes this one? You do? Oh, shame on you. It's a negative. That's what a positive x cubed would look like. And this one's reflected over the x-axis. So it's going to go like that. Okay? That I know. Quickly, let's just find out about the y-intercept. That's where x is 0, right? So it does go through there. It might go through like that. It might go like this. Okay, I'm not too sure. Maybe it goes like this. But roughly, I said roughly. That's actually kind of wobbly. Okay. Quick little mark. If you got 4 graphs, and that's one of them, the other one looks like that. The other one looks like this. Okay, the other one looks like, I don't know, that. Which one are you going to pick? Okay. Quotient. Now, this one might be a little trickier to simplify. I got f of x divided by g of x, also can be written like that. And remember this R word called restrictions. I can't have g of x be equal to 0, can I? Because then it would be undefined. Okay? We can't do that. So f of x is x squared plus x minus 6 over g of x, 2x plus 6. Okay? That's h of x. Does it say simplify? You're in grade 12. Yes, it does. Okay, it's implied. That's not what I want here. I want to simplify it. Can I factor the top? What multiplies to negative 6 and adds to 1? Can I factor the bottom? I can take a 2 out of both things here. And just if you remember from Math 11, usually we'll give you something nice to do, like cancel something. Okay, otherwise it's a pretty boring question. In Math 11, first of all, you need to say x can't be what? Because my denominator can't be 0. So there's a restriction here, right? X can't be negative 3. Okay, then I can get rid of that and simplify it, because now that restriction is gone, right? Here, you're looking at this thing going, well, what's wrong with x negative 3? That's fine. But put it back in here, can't have it, because then you get 0 in the bottom. Okay, g of x can't be 0. So that's rational expressions, if you recall. Okay, f of x divided by g of x, x plus 2 over x squared and 9x and 14. That's h of x. But if that's a multiple choice question, that's not going to be one of the answers. Okay, because we can probably do something else to it. Can I factor the bottom? What multiplies to 14 and adds to 9? 7 and 2. And, whoa, look at that. Something actually canceled. Okay, again, we're not really talking about restrictions, but x cannot be -2 or -7. If it does, this thing falls apart, right? So do your restrictions first. What do I got left if I cancel everything out in the top? Okay, gotta have a 1 there. Okay, any questions on that? All right. Sketch. F of x is the blue line, and g of x is the red line. We all see the red line? Can't help you if you can't. It's red. So I want to know h of x, which is, I can't see the sign, I just want to add these together. So I know the functions are listed there, okay, but let's pretend they're not. Because I know in your assignment questions, they're not. You could, you know how to find the equation of a line given its graph? Y equals mx plus b, okay? You could do that, and that might be an option. But I have all the outputs for this function. I have all the outputs for that function. I just want to add them. Let's see what happens. Okay, so where's a nice point? That looks like 2. For the same x value, this output is -4. What is 2 and -4? -2. Okay, some other nice values. 1. Right underneath it, this thing's -3. What's 1 and -3? It's also -2. Okay, for f of x, and it doesn't matter which one's first because I'm just adding them, right? Okay, here, both functions are -1. So what's -1 and -1? When I add them, see a little pattern here? Let's go over here. This one is 1. This one's -3. What's 1 and -3? Let's go way over here. What is 4? Oh, that one's off the scale. Can't use it. So let's do 3 and what's this one? Now, careful. Each line is a half, right? Always look at your scale. So that's -4. That's -5. What's 3 and -5? There's my line. There's h of x. Okay? So graphically, you can do that. You can try to make, what I did was just make tables of values. I just kind of did it in my head. So, actually, let's pretend I don't know that. Do you guys know how to get the equation of a line here? Y equals mx plus b? Let's check it out. What's my y-intercept? That's 1. What's my slope here? My rise is 2. My run is 2. My slope is 1. Whoop, not 2. Y is x plus 1. That's this guy. How about the red one? Y is, what's my slope here? There's a couple of nice points. That's 2. My run is 2. So again, my slope is 1, but this is a negative slope, right? So negative x and my y-intercept is -3. So let's see what f of x plus g of x is. X and -x, how many x do I have? 1 minus 3. Does that make sense? It's negative 2. I don't care what x and y are. It's always minus 2. Okay? So, having given that, that would be the easiest way to do it. That plus this. But like I said, in your assignment, I'm reluctant to do that because you're not given the equations. Don't assume you will be. So either way works, points, or maybe you want to look at the function. Okay, in this case, it was easier to just look at the function and solve it, and you got nothing to plot at all. It's minus 2. This guy says the square root of x plus 4 okay, does that look like the square root of x 4 units to the left? You bet. Okay, we've seen this before. And this guy is minus 2/5 x plus 1. Y-intercept of 1, slope of 2/5. Okay, if I look at it that way, 2/5, okay. So how do I add these together? Does that help me? I don't think it does. Like, this doesn't simplify at all, right? Sorry, if I subtract them. If I go f of x minus bracket 2/5 x plus 1 bracket, well, that doesn't simplify down at all nicely like the first one. So I'm probably going to want to just take these points and subtract those points. Probably be easier. Do you agree? Like, feel free to get a table of values and put x values in here. Minus 4, minus 3, minus 2, 0, and so on, and plug it in here and there. That looks kind of ugly, doesn't it? So I'm going to just take f of x, which is the blue one, careful, and subtract g of x. I'm going to go minus 4 minus, now it's kind of ugly, but that's the point. What is this point? That's about bigger than 2.5, about 2.6. Okay? So sorry, 0 minus 2.6 is negative 2.6. Okay, there's 1 point. It's nice to get good points. Anyone see like a good point? What's a nice point I would want to do? I want to subtract the red line from the blue line. Anyone see a nice point? Right here? Okay, that's a nice point, sure. I want to subtract, this is f of x minus g of x, so I want to go 2 minus 1, which is, that's an easy one. I see an even easier one. When the values are the same and I subtract them, what do I get? Yeah, right here they're the same, aren't they? So what is this value minus itself? It's 0. Think I can join those 3 points? Are we sure they're going in a line, or are we maybe unsure about what's happening in here? Should I get another point here just to be sure, or should I just join them? Let's get another point, Mr. Watson. Okay. This guy is 1. If I go 1 minus 2 and a bit, what's 2 and a bit? 2.2. What's 1 minus 2.2? Negative 1.2. There's 1. Does it look like it's in a line here? Yeah, not bad. It's a little curved, but so this is what I have so far. Let's keep going. Okay, Here's a nice point, but I already got it. The next nice point up here is 3. Let's go way on the end. What is 3 minus minus 1? 3 minus minus 1? 4. Right here? Okay. For the next point, you mean? Yeah. Okay, good. So if I'm subtracting this, hey, it's nice to subtract 0, isn't it? So that's about 2.5. What's 2.5 minus 0? 2.5. Are we pretty happy that where the line's going? Yeah? Kind of looks maybe like it'll go like that, won't it? That should be maybe enough points. If you're not sure, you can double check. Take this point. Let's go right here. 2 1/4 minus 1 1/4 is about 1 1/4, 1.5. Is that about right? 2 1/4 minus, well, that's not 1 1/4, that's about 1.1. Okay, is about 1.15. Well, it looks a little lower than that, doesn't it? Is that correct? That's 2.5, that's 2 1/4 minus 1. Oh, I'm sorry. That's, yeah, no, I'm looking. Duh. That's about 0.6. Okay, that's better. All right. So that is what? I need a calculator. All I'm doing. I think I got my line. I'm just confirming. Okay. Whoop. 1.65. Look like about 1.65? Sure. Okay. There we go. Oh. Domain and range of my line. I forgot. What's the range of this line here? What are the y values of this line? That's it. Okay. What's the domain and range of this green line? Does it just stop here? Like this function doesn't go any more this way, does it? It stops. So it doesn't make any sense to go this function minus that one. So this guy also, that's where he starts. It doesn't go any more left of this, okay? Because it doesn't make any sense. You can't say it's 0, and I got 0 minus something. It doesn't even exist. So domain, it does go this way. I'm going to assume this goes off the graph forever and ever and ever. So it's everything greater than or equal to -4, where x is all real. And my range, what was this point again? Good thing I wrote it down. Everything greater than or equal to about -2.6, where y is all real. Okay? So, kind of tricky? Yeah, for sure. It's not really hard per se. All I'm doing is subtracting integers, but it's, I mean, I made a mistake, right? It's pretty easy to make a mistake. All right, we got 2 more, boys and girls. Sorry, I should have said girls first, right? What does this dot mean? In your book, do you have a dot or does it have a G there? Yeah, okay, so there's a little typo there, right? It's in mine too. So feel free to check that. That says multiply, right? So cross out what you have there and rewrite that. F of x times g of x, because a G doesn't really make any sense there. Okay, so pretend you don't see these. Okay, but I could find the equations of the lines. So what strategy would you use here? You just want to take the points and multiply them? Or do you want to multiply that function by the other function and see what you got and try to plot that? You don't really know which one's going to be easier or you like better until you do it, right? Let's pretend I found the equations of these lines. Minus x plus 1, and I'm going to multiply them. 1/2 x plus 1. Okay? So it's kind of ugly because there's a fraction there, but here's what I get. Minus a half x squared minus x and a half x and 1. Is that helpful? Would you want to plot that with an x and y table? I probably wouldn't, but you can. Let's just take some numbers and multiply them. This guy is 4. Where that's 4, this guy is negative a half. What is a half of 4? 2, but it's negative, so I have negative 2. Everybody good with that? Okay, this is 3. Dannon, you're bothering me. 3 times, oh, that's nice. What's anything times 0? Let's do this one. See, this is way easier, isn't it? 2 times a half. What's half of 2? Yeah. Do we think we can join these points here? I think so. What's 1 times 1? What kind of shape does this look like it's starting to be? Is that what we expect here? Negative? Did you have a mental picture of what that thing's going to look like when I wrote that? No. Okay, 1.5 times 0 is 0. 2 times negative 1 is minus 2. Nice. Does this keep going this way? You think? Does this graph keep going? Does that one keep going? Yeah, so does this. How about down here? What's the domain of this? All real, right? So sure, yeah, there's arrowheads there. Absolutely. Last thing I might want to be a little picky about, where's my vertex here? Now feel free to write that in vertex form. I showed you how to do that. Would we spend that much work doing that? Probably not. Let's just plot this point. Or actually, no, let's not. Let's just go here and go, what's 1.5 times, what's this? That's a half, that's 3/4, right? So what is 1.5 times 3/4? 1.125, which is just above 1. There's my vertex. Which, by the way, if I remind you, it's always halfway in between 2 y points, right? Anywhere on this parabola, your vertex is always halfway in between because it's symmetrical. So you could have put in here x minus a half and solved that for exactly what y is, okay? And I'm pretty sure you get the same point. Okay, domain, I already said it, all real. What's the range? All the y's less than or equal to, what's his point? Yeah. Okay. All right, last one. Think it'll be the hardest? F of x divided by g of x. That's it. Table of values. Now I put an x and y, it's actually h of x, right? But we know that. Do you want to plot that? You can. it's the blue divided by the red. So it's 4 divided by negative 1.5. What's that? It's negative 2.67 or 2.7, okay? 4 divided by negative 1.5 is negative 2.7. So right about there is a point. Three divided by negative 1, negative 3. 2 divided by negative 1/2. How many halves go in 2? What'd you say? 4. Right? How many half cups of flour in 2 cups? And it's negative. Okay. 1 divided by 0. What's the answer to that question? How many times does 0 go in 1? What's my restricted value here? X can't be 0, can it? I don't know how many times 0 goes into 1. What do we call this, boys and girls? Asymptote. The y-axis is an asymptote. Do you have any idea what this thing's going to look like as it gets close to the asymptote? Have you seen this before? It's just gets closer and closer to it, but never, ever, ever touches it. Right? What do you think goes on the other side? Let's look at this point right here. Is that a nice point? What is the blue line divided by the red line? What is anything divided by itself? There's a point. What? Yeah, maybe. Let's do negative 1 divided by 1 is what? Negative 1. Remember, it's the blue line divided by the red line, right? Negative 2 divided by 1.5. Let's do negative. Is negative 1 1/3. That's 1.5 there, so that's 1.3. Got an idea what this looks like? You can see it. You have the vision. What happens as I get closer and closer to this guy, do you think? Let's do another point over here. Negative 3 divided by 2 is like negative 1.5. Right there. Okay. And do we need a point over here? What do you think is going on over here? I can't really see this point up here, can I? But I'm thinking kind of goes like that. Okay. What's going on here? And maybe I need this point because guess what? But first, let's do domain. What's the domain? What are the x values on this graph? All the x greater than or equal to what? 0. And all the x less than or equal to 0. Or everything except 0. Okay? Oh, I can't, thank you. Yeah, I can't put equal to 0, can I? Thank you. Yeah, it can't be 0. That would have said x all real. Yeah, can't be 0. It has to be greater than 0. Okay, what's my range? What do you think's going on here? It's all the y's from wherever this ends up for wherever this ends up down. So it's all the reals, but what's going on here? Not -2? If I put -2 in here, what would happen? Let's see what's going on here. I want to know what happens when this is equal to 2. So how do I get rid of that? Yeah, just cross multiply half of it. What's -2 times a half? That's just -x, right? 2's cancel out. Let's add x to both sides. Whatever I do to one side, do to the other side. And 1 equals, what do I got left here? Hey, 1 is 0? Does that make any sense? I can't. It doesn't make any sense. Okay, 2 doesn't make any sense. So it does get closer and closer and closer to this, but never touches it. So I have not only a vertical asymptote, I have a horizontal asymptote in here. Okay, so what's my range? Can you see this green? So y is everything except -2. And that's all you get today.